What is going on, sports card fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here with a video on who I think are the best USMNT soccer players to be buying. Now, this is a video that is very hard to make because personally I think you should be buying a lot of them, so there's going to be a lot of players and there's not going to be many exclusions, but I'll kind of talk about who's missing, why, and who I'm actually into. The channel is going to be rebranded to USMNT soccer cards going forward, so we're in the process, well, I'm in the process of that. I don't have any other people, so getting going on that. And that will eventually be kind of more what I'm directed towards. I still will do soccer cards at large, and maybe I'll dabble elsewhere every now and then, but ultimately I've just been so into soccer cards for like the last 6 months to 8 months. I never really thought when I got into sports cards that I would end up with just basically exclusively soccer, but here we are. So I'm going to talk about the cards that I am feeling the best about right now, and the first one is not going to be youth. Most of these are youth though, which is kind of the exciting part about this. Personally, the real good aspects of soccer card collecting for USMNT for me has been the fact that I just can't find enough of these cards. Like, I've been doing this, like I said, 6-8 months, even more. I've been buying USMNT cards. I've just kind of focused on it lately, but there was really never a ton of supply. And now, we're getting closer and there's still not a ton of supply, and we're a year and a half away from the World Cup. So there's going to be a year and a half of drying up supply and then the World Cup. And I don't know. It's going to be crazy, I think. Of course, we have to make it. We didn't do that in 2018, but the team's looking a lot better now. So let's go ahead, get on into it. We're going to start with John Brooks. I closed my camera, but I do need to see kind of how these reflect in. All right, so John Brooks right there. This is his 2015 Panini card. Personally, the earliest I can find. Maybe there are other rookies, but wherever you're going to be looking for John Brooks, I think that is the way to go, because he is just our staple defender. He is going to be the most experienced on our team going forward. So the idea that he is $1, like this card is, you can probably get it $1, $2. It's pretty crazy to me, because Chris Richards, he is a younger, more higher ceiling type player because he's younger, but I mean, his cards are like 15, 20 bucks, maybe even more. I haven't checked in a while. They might have gone up even more, but point being, when they're 20 times what our most established guy is, it's just kind of crazy. And personally, he scored one of the more favorable goals in my mind for the USMNT when he got the winner against Ghana. So I just think that there's value there, and personally I'll be buying those until the end of time if they're under $5. Like, it is what it is. And then Eunice Musa, this is one I didn't really know if I want to include, so it's just kind of a quick honorable mention. This is his Mega Cracks. It's not as high pop as other Mega Cracks. From what I understand, it was released differently than most Mega Cracks. It was kind of in like a magazine edition type thing, so there's just less of them. Musa is interesting because he's not necessarily cap tied to the USMNT, so he could go to England, and maybe then you see some suppressed value because there's not as many collectors. But at the end of the day, I think the upside he offers is more than worth the price tag alone at this point. Those are, you can probably find them $5 to $10. And I just think that that's what you can get almost any other of our midfielders for, and he's the youngest with the highest ceiling in my mind right now. I know many people are excited about Weston McKennie. I'm very excited about that too, but with Musa being much younger and already looking so impressive, it is what it is. So I think that is a good buy. It'd be better, of course, if he was already on the team, but I think his prices would already be hiked up a little bit if that was the case. So, and then transitioning to, I guess, not really an attacker, but kind of, that's the fun part. Sergio Dest, this is an RPA, but he has a lot of options for last year. You can find stickers, you can find cards, like Topps Museum has a lot of stuff. Personally, I think RPAs for a lot of our USMNT guys are pretty cheap. Like, if the hobby does sustain into the World Cups, I think these things are such a bargain. So if you can afford them, if you can save up a little bit, I think they're such a good play. But Sergio Dest, as far as a player, I mean, when you watch him for Barca, he got kind of destroyed for his Mbappe performance and kind of getting roasted by Mbappe. But honestly, whenever I watch that game and watch the highlights, there wasn't really too much he did wrong defensively. And if you can look at least competent next to Mbappe, I think that's good. And his main asset is going forward. It's going to be pushing up the pitch, getting all of our attackers into play, and really, he's like one of the more creative guys that we're going to be having on our team. And while he'll be pressing up on that wing, it's just he offers so much in attack, creativity-wise, that I just think that he is a good buy, even though he's a defender. Personally, I don't recommend buying too many defenders because they don't get the spotlight, the glamour, the high upside in prices that you get elsewhere. But when he's going to be pushing that far up the pitch and probably embarrassing a lot of people, I just think it's a buy, and personally, I'm a big fan. So that is it as far as the midfield and defense. I know Weston McKennie is one people love, but his prices have soared. So I'm out. I like Weston McKennie. I have Weston McKennie's, but I wouldn't be buying them right now. Tyler Adams is another one that I think really, really highly of, but attacking-wise, he's really a defender. He doesn't get up at all. So, I mean, I know he scored the Champions League goal, and that kind of sent his prices sky high, but since then, they haven't done anything, and that's kind of the point. You're going to need something pretty astronomical to happen to be able to hit that upside. So, beyond that, getting into more of the attackers, this one, pretty obvious, but Gio Reyna, this is his black Dortmund Topps card. You can get these pretty cheap, I think under $20, and personally I think that is a good buy. I think the set will be really nice because it has Holland in it too, so it'll kind of have some sort of memory with people. And I mean, I just think that Gio Reyna is so young and such high upside. I mean, whenever you watch him play, he's not really someone that's going to attack and be an absolute killer, and that's not what he's really meant to do, but he can play a nice inside winger role where he's really, really good on the ball. Possession is great. Decision making is there. The only thing he really lacks a little bit of is kind of just the physical speed and, ability that I think will just grow over time. I mean, he's kind of young now. He doesn't have the physical attributes you'd hope for, but I think when you're 17, just turning 18, that's to be expected. So, personally, I just think the knowledge and know-how and his feel of the game is just already there. So if he even improves in other regards a little bit, I think he's clearing away our best player going forward. I know people think Pulisic's kind of it now, and even at 2022 World Cup, I'd agree Pulisic will be our best player, but I think Gio Reyna has the highest upside and the brightest future going forward. So personally, when you can get a nice little Topps card for like $20, I think it's a good buy. I personally have a lot. I got a lot of the cards got laying about back there, but I have so many of that black card. It is insane. I won't be selling them to you, so I'm not pumping and dumping. Don't get worried. But I am definitely holding. So finally, on to the two very, very attacking base players that I will have in here. The first one is Timothy Waya. This is his optic. You got the Donruss, you got silvers, you got numbered stuff. You can get Topps Chrome. There are some other options, whatever you want to go with. But personally, Tim Waya is one for me that I've been buying a lot of because, like I said earlier, there wasn't really a ton of supply for a lot of USMNT guys, but there was a lot of supply of Tim Waya because he had 2 hamstring tears, and so people were just, willing to sell. There wasn't really anything going on. But I personally just had seen a lot of how he played before, was a really big fan of what he could offer, and now he's finally kind of getting back into the groove of things. He's gotten his spot back almost at Lille. He's kind of fighting for his spot, and I think he's almost got it back, which is really nice because at the beginning of the season when he started to come back, people were pretty upset with how little he was playing. Personally, I kind of understood it because he had so many injuries, and I was happy. But now I think he's definitely grown into form, and people are starting to pick up on it. A lot of people have started to move Tim Waya into their starting 11s. I know, like, USMNT Twitter is pretty strange. I actually have a Tim Waya Stan account. I'll link it down below from now on if you want to check it out, since we're now USMNT related channel. But I don't know. It's strange. He's kind of in the spotlight now, and I think it's here to stay. I mean, when you're fighting for a starting spot on, like, I don't know what Lille is at this point, 1, 2, whatever, a top-end French team, I think that's just a great spot to be. And just the way he looks on the field is absurd. He's so good at top, and he presses a ton. So I'm absolutely pumped. I think he fits our system a ton, too. People don't think about that enough whenever buying USMNT players, I don't believe, because you're just looking at what you see. You're not looking at what our coach sees, which is the most important. And Tim Waya has been one that kind of sticks out in my mind because Berhalter wants people that are just constantly making runs in behind. He wants people that can press a defense. He wants just endless attacking and just ruthless pressure. And Tim Waya offers that. Like, he is nonstop trying to just break open space, get in behind. And, I mean, defensively, he has like signature goals at this point. He has one for PSG and one for Lille, where he's just kind of like, pressing a keeper and ends up getting a ball that just kind of is lazily passed. And that's just who he is. And I think that over time, a lot of these players are really young. So the story has not been laid out for these guys. But over time, we'll see, I think, with Waya, especially if he can stay healthy, that, people just miss the boat. Like when people are injured and under the radar, you have to actively be scouting and searching. You can't simply just settle with who's doing good now and be like, well, that's a hot stock, give me my money. You gotta be looking beyond that. And I think Tim Waya is an example of that finally coming to light. But still, if he hits that upside, he is still highly undervalued. So finally, last card I would be buying, I've been buying a lot of, I'm a big fan as well, Josh Sargent. I have stand him through the Hoppa hype. I said, no Hoppa hype. I don't care. I don't care if he scored 3 goals real quick for Schalke. Doesn't mean anything to me. Josh Sargent, so much more experience, so much more well-rounded and proven, both for the Bundesliga and for the USMNT. I don't think Hoppa is even close. People tell you differently. I don't believe it. Personally, I bought Matthew Hoppa whenever the tops now were out and he had a goal or two and it was pretty hype. And I was like, okay, I have a lot of USMNT stuff. I may as well get some Hoppa. Bought a lot of 20, and then once I saw that there was a 10K print run, I sold it immediately. I was like, no thanks. This dude's going to be in Bundesliga 2, probably, unless he gets transferred. There's a lot of hype of transfer, but, it's so many big teams linked, it doesn't even make sense. So I just dismiss it. Personally, I sold basically as soon as I got him and got my money back, and I didn't care. I was like, that's fine. I'll get my money back out of this. And I have just kept on going with Josh Sargent. He has actually come into form lately, scoring a few goals in the last few games, so he is really kind of solidified in people's minds. But like I said, USMNT, Twitter, just the atmosphere of it is so flip-floppy. Personally, there will be people that come in my radar, like Daryl DK at this point, where I'm like, obviously when you're scoring and playing that well for Barnsley, like there is more to be had there, and I will start to respect that. But when some dude scores a few goals for Schalke and we're clamoring for him to be your starting striker at 2022, it's like, goodness, give me a break. So at the end of the day, I think all of these guys are just amazing buys. Negate the fact that there's some RPAs in here or whatever. If you get the base card of these guys as rookies, do some eBay searching. Essentially, whenever I'm looking up rookies, there are tons of ways to go. But if you just put in the name and type rookie next to it and do enough searching and enough cross-referencing, you can find out what year is the rookie year. Typically, all these guys are 2016 to 2020. And then from there, find what you like, find what's cheap, and just kind of start collecting. And I think you'll be in a good spot because going forward, like I said at the beginning, there's not enough pop of this stuff. And when Christian Pulisic's are $150 for a base select, and personally, I think that's undervalued because, again, I think all of the soccer stuff is. But if I think that's undervalued at $150, then the value on like some of these potential starters up top could be, astronomically higher than they are now. So at the end of the day, that is how I feel. If you have any other opinions, feel free to let me know down below. Would love to hear them. But with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Any feelings on the list or any USMNT guys that you are very high on your own, let me know down below. I have definitely been looking, so would love to hear what you have to say. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.